Welcome to summer, everybody. We are sitting here on a gorgeous front porch at one of our brand new listings here in Discovery West. We figured we'd take incredible advantage of this location for Above the Noise this week. First off, huge congratulations to all of you graduates out there. Great work. Excited to see you out and about in our community. Sam, what are we talking about this week?
We got lots on the docket today. So we're going to start with talking about the market, which is what we typically do on these videos. So we'll give you some what to expect for the summer. And then we're going to dive into a little bit of real estate 101. We're going to talk appraisals. We're going to talk home energy scores, and we're going to talk pre-listing home inspection. So if that interests you, stick around. It'll be good. Okay, so let's start by jumping into the market. Typically, we might look back a few weeks or months, what's been going on. Today, we're going to actually look ahead because summer, we're heading right into the thick of summer season, selling season. What does that look like typically here in Bend, and what can people expect coming up?
Great question, Sam. Typically in the summer months, we're seeing a ton of new inventory come to market. Last year, we had about 1,000 homes in the city of Bend, or 5 months of inventory is sort of where we capped out during the summer selling season. So we have a ton of new inventory that buyers can expect to see coming up. What that means for buyers, lots of options, hopefully lots of good opportunity. For sellers, it means you're going to be competing with a lot of other homes, so you need to really have a strategy that makes your house stand out from the competition.
It also does mean too, though, that buyers will be entering the market because they know this is the time to buy more options, more listings to choose from.
Absolutely. I would say that we felt a little bit higher sense of urgency from buyers this spring. I'm hopeful that that carryovers into the summer selling season and that we don't see as many homes on the market for as long as we did last year. Our days on market's trending down right now, and I'm hopeful that that will continue through the summer selling season.
What is our days on market right now?
Last month, it was 12 days on market, down from 15 before and 50 the month before. So we've seen a considerable drop. Hopefully, I think it's probably going to stay somewhere between 10 and 20 days on market over the summer. Sam, as we enter the summer selling season, do we typically see any difference between local buyers that might be making a lateral move versus out-of-town buyers shifting into our market?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's definitely a sense that the local buyers are waiting to maybe the shoulder seasons to buy. They're not buying right in the middle of summer. Whereas everybody coming from out of town, they're probably vacationing here to some sort of degree. They're not maybe as restricted by the school timeframes, or sorry, they are as restricted by the school timeframes. And so they're trying to get in during the summer months. And so we definitely see that uptick.
Absolutely. Shifting gears, Sam, let's talk about pre-listing home inspections, the pros, the cons, what is it, and what should our sellers be thinking about?
Okay, pre-listing home inspection would be where you're about getting ready to list your house and you hire an inspector to come in and do an inspection before it even hits the market. Why would somebody do this? It's gonna maybe cost you $600 to $800 depending on the size of the home and the inspector. So the reasons to do this is you get out in front of any sort of issues that might be lingering or hiding, lurking right underneath, and that you wouldn't want maybe to come up during an inspection. And then once you get that information from the inspector, this allows you to go handle those repairs with either by yourself or with a handyman or a contractor of your choosing, as opposed to the buyer now dictating it to you during an inspection, which can oftentimes be a lot more stressful, a lot more on the line. And so this just allows you to go about it in a methodical way that's more careful, more planned, and oftentimes can honestly be more affordable.
Love it.
What would be some of the cons to doing a pre-listing home inspection?
Well, I think some of the realities is that whatever you learn on a pre-home inspection, the seller is going to be required to disclose when they turn around and sell the house. If you got an older home and maybe a lot of skeletons in the closet, so to speak, that you don't want to unearth, then it may be better to just roll the dice, see how things play out during the transaction, and hope that you can negotiate your way through it. To be frank, our style here at Varsity, and Sam and I's style when we're representing sellers, is to really get out ahead of the problems that we might face. We want to create as smooth of a runway as possible, because at the end of the day, we don't want deals to die over items that could have been handled prior to listing the home.
So if a seller gets a pre-listing home inspection, this means that the buyer is absolutely not going to get their own inspection. Is that right?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Sometimes you have a pre-listing home inspection, and if it comes out really squeaky clean, it can be a great asset to where the buyer chooses to forego having their own home inspection, which is the best case scenario. Now, they still very well might want to have their own home inspection, which is fine, but at the end of the day, you also, from a disclosure standpoint, can have the peace of mind that you shared everything that you know about this property and have it documented. and the buyer can utilize it however they feel.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add to this too, if you're a seller doing this pre-listing home inspection and you hand over an inspection report to the buyer, potential buyer, and all the repairs that you've done to address those items, how good of a tone does that set to that buyer about what kind of seller you are? And I think a lot of times it can grease the wheels to a very smooth transaction.
Absolutely.
Okay, so along the same veins, we're gonna start talking about home energy score, which sometimes can be paired with a pre-listing home inspection because these need to be done prior to listing. We've been in this a couple years now. It's the city of Bend requires these home energy audits to happen. And I am shocked at the amount of people that actually have no idea what this is. So explain to us what a home energy audit would be.
A home energy audit is essentially an inspection that's completed by a licensed home inspector prior to listing your home. First of all, it's required by the city of Bend prior to publicly listing any property for sale.
Within Bend city limits.
Yes, so if you're in the county, you're off the hook.
Yeah.
Second of all, this inspection kicks out a report, and that report has an energy home audit score. And the score is based on a ton of different factors that the inspector gathers. And really that score is tied to the energy efficiency of the home. What we do is we take that score and we post it alongside the listing when it's publicly listed so that buyers have the opportunity to understand the energy efficiency of any given home. The question is, how much do buyers really care about this?
I've got an opinion.
Let's hear it.
I don't think they care one bit. And you guys know this, I've been vocal about this, and some people might have other opinions, that's fine. But I think a buyer knows, like, hey, if I'm gonna go buy a 4,000 square foot house that was built in 2000, that's gonna cost more, it's gonna have more energy usage than if I go buy a 1,500 square foot house that's brand new and has all these Earth Advantage certified type things. You know, it's like a buyer I don't think needs it. I think it's intuitive and buyers just know this house is gonna be less efficient.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So what is the, sorry to cut you off, what is the penalty or the risk rather if you don't do a home energy audit and post it on the MLS?
I believe the fine is $800 from the city of Bend.
Yeah, $750 last I checked.
$750.
Yeah.
We'll round up.
Okay.
So you could roll the dice, don't do it. You might get hit by the city for a $750 fine. We've had clients do that as well. It's not our job to choose for them, but it is our job to inform them of the risk.
And what does a typical home energy inspection cost?
$250 to $300.
Yeah.
So money well spent.
There you go.
Sam, let's talk appraisals. Now, if you've ever been a part of a real estate transaction, many of them have an appraisal that is utilized during the transaction. So let's start from the top. Sam, what is an appraisal?
Appraisal is an opinion of value by a third party or independent person, usually a licensed appraiser in the state of Oregon, that the bank, if there's a bank or a lender involved in the transaction, will order on behalf of themselves to verify that the value of the property is actually what it is as it's stated in the sales contract.
Absolutely. Now, does the buyer have a say in who gets to appraise their property?
They do not. No, this is absolutely third party so that there's no outside influences on the appraisal.
Okay. Now, Sam, if I'm a seller and I'm reviewing an offer that a buyer's presented to me on my property, and there's an appraisal contingency associated with the transaction, what exactly does that mean? When does the appraisal take place within the transaction, and how long of a time frame should I expect?
So appraisals can take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, usually on the shorter side of that, to happen within a transaction. That inspector, appraiser, will come to the house to ensure that everything's in good order, and then we'll kick out a report, an opinion of value. If that value comes in under what the sales price of the contract is, then the buyer may choose to exercise their appraisal contingency, and they could walk away from the transaction, potentially get their earnest money back. Or most oftentimes what happens is they come to some sort of renegotiation with the seller on the purchase price. Sometimes it's a, hey, come down to the appraisal price. Sometimes the seller doesn't budge at all, or sometimes it's a meeting in the middle. Every situation, as you know, might be very different.
Got it. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, part of the financing or the loan approval is contingent upon the appraised value of the home matching the agreed upon purchase price. Is that accurate?
Correct, yes. Oftentimes, if the buyer's not in a position to do so, the transaction will just die right there because they don't have the ability to maybe come up with the extra cash. The bank won't loan on more than what it's appraised for, so it can cause some real sticking issues, hence why things oftentimes might get negotiated at that point.
Love it.
Clear as mud.
Clearly, there's a ton of things to consider when listing or being a buyer in our market that we would love to help be your guides for. Thank you so much for joining us this June at Above the Noise. We hope to see you guys out there. It's going to be a great summer. Be well.